Everybody comfortable? Everyone's looking good?
So comfy.
I'm looking so good.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's nice to hear, Sean. Well, anyways, already, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Breaktime Podcast. This is a podcast where creatives talk business and life.
And life, baby.
And life, baby. I'm your co-host, Lucas. I'm here with Victoria.
Exactly like that. Speaking, guys. Hello.
I'm also here. Unfortunately, right now, he actually has a torn bicep, so he's at home recovering. We're here with Sam.
What's up?
And then also today we have a guest on that is Sean Mcrea.
Yo.
So Sean is actually the newest member of the Coast Break Collective. He's kind of puttering around here, kind of getting the ropes of everything, and we're going to try to get him on board pretty soon here. But with that being said, we actually have an interesting topic that was requested by one of our listeners. Shout out to you, Sailing Magic Carpet, if you're listening.
What's the handle?
That was the handle. Yeah, that's her handle.
That's amazing.
Anyways, she asked us if we could kind of go over how we learned filmmaking and photography and things that we thought was helpful, things that we thought weren't helpful, things that, you know, we wish we knew beforehand, and things that we wish we did know. I don't know what else to say.
I wish I didn't know you.
Yeah, I wish there's some things I wish. Wait, what? Hold on a second there.
I don't know anything.
But yeah, so the thing that I thought would be awesome is if you have Sean on the podcast, because Sean is actually now becoming a full-time freelancer, full-time photographer and videographer. So Sean, you're going to be asking us questions.
Sounds good.
And we're going to be asking you questions too.
Oh yeah, that is true. Anyways, with that being said, let's roll the intro.
Do you need to say that we're rolling the intro? Is that a thing that you need to do?
I don't know if I need to, but I did it a couple times, and then I started realizing I did it every time, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Okay. It's like me saying alrighty, folks. I don't know why I always say alrighty, folks.
All of a sudden, it's like you're a different person. You're
Yeah.
like, all right, podcast time. All right, everyone.
Okay.
She's like, let's do it.
Sean, you're just taking my spotlight.
Sorry.
I'm going to give him the purple line.
All right. Anyways, so to start off with, I think the best way to kind of go about this is, Sean, do you have any questions, like grueling questions that sit in your brain when you think about someone who's becoming a full-time videographer or full-time photographer? Is there anything you wish or anything you want to know from us?
Yeah, totally. I mean, lots of questions. Probably the first big one is how do you start getting people to pay you to make things, to do stuff?
Right off the bat, he's coming out firing.
How do you,
Well, Sam, I'm actually going to call on you for your questions and stuff. Since Sam is on Zoom, it's going to be a little bit easier if we just give him the spotlight for a little bit. So Sam, I'm going to fire that question over to you to answer.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'm on the spotlight. How do you get people to pay you? I think it comes down to being confident in your abilities as either a photographer or videographer. If you've built yourself a bit of a portfolio over time, and I'm sure you've done some gigs for free because that's why you're asking the question. So, and hopefully you've done it in the right way, that you're building yourself a portfolio. So you've got that confidence. You got to build confidence and be able to ask someone for money for your work. It all comes down to that, and believing that you are worth the money for your work. I think that's the sort of high level thing. Is just, and it's obviously easier said than done, but just be confident in the work you're producing. It's worth money, because it's not, you got camera gear, whether it's cheap or expensive, you still paid money for that camera gear. You're spending time, whether it's traveling to a location, back and forth, you're spending time with your client. All that is worth money. And, so think about those things and be confident and just go and ask them for money.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Sam. And I think a big thing too, like to kind of like break it down in a different sense, with kind of thinking about how to like price yourself and kind of like have that more mentality. I think an important thing that people should figure out is, how much does all your gear cost, and how much would you have to charge if you did an average of 15 to 20 shoots throughout the year? How much would you have to charge someone in order to pay that equipment off?
Right.
Because a lot of people are, they have this idea that creatives is like, oh, you just have a camera and you can just go do it. It's like, well, little do you know, this camera is $4,500. This lens is $3,500. My time, the time I spent editing, like there's just like lots of costs that come with it that people don't realize. It's like when someone like goes up to a welder and they're just like, hey, can you just weld this for me? Like, well, my welder costs $6,000 and I went to school for this, so I'm going to charge you this. And people are completely fine with that. When you get to more of like a professional commercial space, or when you get to more like a business to business, a lot of people already know in their heads that they're going to have to pay if they want quality. So I think having that in your back pocket, knowing like, my equipment costs this much. If I did 15 videos this year, how much would I have to charge to pay that off, and make that just part of what you're going to charge them, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Part. Keep that in mind. If it's going to be like $500 from every shoot's going to go towards your equipment to pay off this piece of equipment. If you did 15 shoots throughout the year, $500, you have to charge at least $500.
He's doing the math, guys. This is not.
That's math I've done before in the past, so I'm just like reiterating words that I've already sat down and know that they're right.
That being said, I think it's really important to know who you talk to and who you're trying to take on as a client, right? Because with that in mind, you can't get your friends to be your clients, right? So it's really important to start filtering through who you're reaching out to or who you're accepting, because they're, as a freelancer, you may or may not, most of us do, run into people who just want you to do free work.
Totally.
And you need to say no.
May or may not. God damn it, that's like every week.
I'm really diplomatic here, okay? May or may not. May is the key. Yeah. So everybody does run into people that want you to do free work, and if you say yes to all of those, you won't have the capacity to say yes to an actual paid job, because you'll be eaten up by everything that's happening in the free world, right? So
totally. I think if I could chime in, I think you guys all have some super good answers between the three of you. I think the free work thing is an interesting topic, because I think there is a lot of value in that too. I know when you guys started, like over a year ago, before you started charging people, you were doing some free jobs, and I know I've done free jobs too in exchange for gear. And I think that is a really good point, actually, to not necessarily do free work anymore once you're established and you're making money. But I do think that's a really good tip.
I actually want to
gain experience.
Yeah, I want to reel back something that you just said, is like not doing free work anymore. That's actually not very true at all. I think now it like is boiling down to the point where if I want to initiate something, if I want to make a video about something for myself, or because I have a passion and I want to see and I want to create this video, I don't really consider that free work. We call that passion projects all the time. And like, it's always good to have passion projects. It's always good to be creating videos. And if you don't have any work lying around, the only way to get better and learn more is to just make a video, like whatever it is. And I really like making really high-end Instagram reels. I have like no context, just like super cool videos.
Yeah.
Cows.
Because cows, my parents' farm. Yeah. Just random stuff. But I think like that's like the best way that you can learn, is by finding things that you want to film, things that you're eager to film, and going and filming them. So I think the idea of once you get to a certain point, you never do free work again, I don't think that's really what it is. I think you find more passion projects and more things that you want to film that you don't care if you get paid as much.
Totally.
Yeah. So you find creative ways to make it work for you. And so it doesn't seem like a pointless free work, like you have an intention of going in and saying, I'm going to do this because it's a passion project. I'm going to do this because it's going to get me more work down the line. So the feeling is different. You might not get paid for it, but the feeling of it is different.
For sure. And if I may just interject quickly about doing free work, I think, if you're starting off as a freelancer, and it might not be a full-time job yet, but I think it's important to do that said free work with intention. So not just, I'm just going to shoot for free because I'm not confident enough to ask for money, but and I've got an example about this, personal example, which I'll say in a bit, but it's important to go with intention, as in, if you're building a portfolio and you need some portfolio pieces that's niche to the sector you want to target, then that's doing free work with intention. So finding those projects and stuff that will be important to build that portfolio, that's going with intention. For me, for example, I think I'd only been on the island for about 9 months, or not even, and I figured that how I could get money is in the wedding industry here, but I had zero experience. I had zero video work. I think I might have done a couple of engagement shoots for photos, but no films, no wedding films. So through a friend, basically, whose sister was getting married, she was okay for me to tag along to the wedding and film the whole day. And I didn't ask for money because I was like, I'll just bite the bullet. And it was 12 plus hours of filming up in Parksville. The gas wasn't paid, nothing was paid. I just went up there. It was exhausting. I literally on the way back, it was like 11:30 p.m. I had to stop a couple of times on the way down because I was so exhausted to take a 10-minute nap. But yeah, I just filmed all day, filmed the wedding, delivered like I think a 2-3 minute video. They were super happy with it. I was quite happy with it, and it allowed me to sort of market myself for wedding films, right? I had something to show potential couples that I've done a wedding film, so come and hire me, and sure enough, I got a couple more bookings out of it. So bottom line is do the free work, but it's got to be with an intention, with a goal, basically.
Yeah, totally. I think just to clarify, I'm totally for doing like passion projects for free. Like obviously you would never pay like yourself to do something for fun, right? I think it is a lot of value. I think I'm like totally stuttering on my own words right now, but I guess like back to the viewer, like maybe that original question of how do you get paid? I super agree with what Sam's saying. What you guys are all saying is like doing things with intention at the beginning and not necessarily making money from it is fine, because it gives you the experience and then the proof in your portfolio to then be able to show people this is what I can do, and then people will pay you for it. And I think that's like super, super important.
100%.
And then obviously you're always going to do things for yourself to get better, which is you're not getting paid for that stuff. That's passion projects, but that free work, like there's a few things I'm doing right now, which is like just in exchange for being sent some gear, not getting paid for it, but getting sent free gear and then shooting product shoots and doing some work. And then I'm able to add that into my portfolio and then show other people, clients, look, I've done this work for these guys. And then if they like it, they pay for it in the future. And then you develop that. And I think that's so valuable. So that's a good way to move forward.
100%. Yeah.
But are we moving on to another question? Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, let's go. So let's gear something a little bit more towards learning how to become like a better videographer and photographer, because that was kind of like what she was asking about. Yeah. So do you have any questions kind of relating to that scope of learning? Question mark?
Wow. Question mark?
Big question mark?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can think of a few things like just off the top of my head. So in the scope of learning, in terms of skills, whether it's video or photo, we all know that the internet's a huge resource, like using YouTube and watching tutorials. But maybe aside from that, what are some methods that you guys use in order to just get better with your equipment, to maybe enhance a style, or just what are some methods that you guys are doing actively to learn and to educate yourselves? Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I do is I try to make a video every single week. I try to just make one. Right. If it's like one of those reels, if it's, I don't know, like a paid job, then I count that. And if I don't have anything that week, then I'll like go out on the weekend and I'll film something with a bunch of friends. But I think actively trying to always create something, and not always the same thing. Like, sure, that you want to niche yourself, you want to find what you're passionate about, but you never know if you like something unless you try it. And like trying new transitions, and you see like a video that, I don't know, like Daniel Schiffer did or something, like, oh, like that's super cool, and he'll show you how he does it every time. So just like trying out those like things that you find. And we actually talked about this on the other podcast, about the book Stealing Like an Artist, right? Is that what it's called? Or
yeah,
Steal Like an Artist?
Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a really, really good. Like,
who writes that, by the way? Do you guys? I feel like we should say the artist's name.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah. I'll just I don't know, throw it up in the video or something. Whoever wrote it.
Sure.
But basically, they talk about how you aren't the first one to do something, right? And Sam said it before too. You're not reinventing the wheel. So why not try to embrace and try to recreate a video that somebody else made? Obviously not throw it out there being like, this is my video, look how cool this is.
Yeah.
But, you know, but just like, cause then you will find yourself, like maybe you like something that they do in that video or a technique they use, but you really hate another one. So you're probably going to reuse that technique again. You're going to learn different ways to do things. But I think on top of that, on an educational level, there's this course called Full-Time Filmmaker by, Parker Walbeck. And that, like, I did that for a little bit. I thought that was helpful.
Yeah.
Did I complete it? No, because there's a lot of things that I already knew myself and learned myself. But I think that's a resource for anybody who's just starting out that you could tap into. It's about $1,500. But I mean, you're investing into yourself and your business by doing it. And it's also a write-off. So that's cool.
Cool.
Tax write-off. Yeah. And
What
just
about you guys?
on
Mcrea
that note, I think that's really important. And one thing that we constantly talk about is, you know, making videos, but also getting feedback. It's again, we can go back to the intentions, but make a video and then let go of the outcome in a way that you can go out and ask for feedback and just welcome any feedback that comes.
Yeah, try to find people that will give you real feedback.
That's hard. That's hard to find.
It's
Actually,
hard to
That's a
find,
tough one.
especially because we are surrounded by people who are less creative or they, you know, they're not in the videography or photography industry. So every single video what we make, they're like, oh my God, it's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
The video's sick. Yeah, but what sucks about it? Come on, something sucks.
we need, what's his name? Simon Cowell, or what's the, you know, You've Got Talent.
Yeah, from America's Got Talent.
The judge guy, Simon, who's like super harsh. We need him in here to just be like, your video is terrible.
It just sucks. It's awful.
You should do better.
You should do better.
What about Sam?
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in last week's podcast, but I think what's super important, and it kind of relates to what you said, Lucas, about going every week, for example, doing a video for you, for example, is to just, go out and shoot, whether it's video or photo, and that will enable you to get to know your gear. I think that's super important when you're starting off, is knowing your gear, your camera, your lenses inside out, especially your camera settings, right? If you're out on a shoot, especially if it's a paid shoot and you have a doubt about a setting or something, then you might miss a moment, you might miss the money shot, you know. So knowing your gear and what it does and all the settings is super important. And how you do that is by going, I'd even say, you know, when you're starting off, do something every day, whether it's video, photo, like shoot. It doesn't have to be an hour long. If you're shooting video, just shoot something short. If it's photos, literally go out of your home or in your home for like 10 minutes a day. It's literally nothing. Just shoot. Just practice. Try different settings, see what they do, know what they do. I think that's super important when you're starting off, is knowing your gear inside out.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I'm just going to throw it in there anyway, because I'm sitting here with you guys. I really like shooting with friends or shooting with other people, like people who have cameras and know how to use them. I think that's really good tip as well. There's like a while where I was always shooting kind of the same style of photos, and then I went out to shoot with my roommate. Just a little plug, TJ Watt, Ancient Forest Alliance, Safe Ferry Creek. But anyway, he's a great photographer, and sometimes we go out and shoot together. He's just an example, but then like we'll have our cameras and he'll blow my mind. I'll be like, oh, that's how you do that photo, and it's like a great way to learn, right?
I think that was another thing that I was going to bring up, is making sure you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, but also people that don't do exactly what you do. You know, if that makes sense. Like it's really hard to surround yourself with people, especially when you feel like you're in a rut, that are creative in the exact same way as you are, because then you are only going to be doing the exact same creative thing all the time. So it's really good to kind of expand your horizon in a sense. With like Nikki Nonis, for example, is I really like shooting with Nikki. First off, it's just super fun. We're just super creative, and he specifically does cars, and he, you know, is unreal at just doing car stuff.
Cool.
So I go along, and I'm not used to doing car stuff. I've never been a car guy. I've always had just like crappy trucks.
You're a truck guy.
I'm a truck guy, yeah. I like to, do you know what? I drive a silver VW Golf right now and I hate it. Anyways, but so
shout out to you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't deserve it. But yeah, that's another tip basically that I'm totally lost my train of thought.
You're a truck guy. That's very lost. That's where we lost you.
You made me think about trucks.
I'm going to add something to what Lucas is saying. I don't know if this is where you were going, but just a really good point that you're half bringing up and reminding me of is I see a lot of people, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, like chime in at any time. I see a lot of people shoot photos, and when they get into photography, this is probably great for the viewer's question, magic carpet person or whatever, you know.
Sailing magic carpet.
Yeah. So
Sailing magic carpet. Oh, I love it.
So when you're getting
Watch me be wrong.
when you're getting into photography and you like really want to get better, I see because of Instagram, social media, it's so easy to see people all over the world, like, you know, like in every country, what their profiles are, what they're doing. And so many people don't know what to shoot, but they love photography. So you'll see the same like random abstract photos of like, you know, chairs in the park or like a swing, or now there's a building, and there's just like random stuff. And that's great because you're, like Sam's saying, you're getting outside, you're shooting, and that's awesome. But I think a great way to take it to the next level and to really improve on your photography and videography, correct me if I'm wrong, is to find something obviously that you really, really like, that you love. Like for me, maybe it's like, I really like to climb and surf. So I just like, I'm obsessed with, I go shoot that stuff whenever my friends are going. Sam loves outdoor stuff too. Lucas, all of us like outdoor things, you know, and if it's something that you really, really like and it can be the subject of your photos, I find that really improves, develops a style, improves your compositions. Because if you don't have something you're passionate about, you end up taking endless photos of like abstract random things, which is fine. It's practice, but helps to have that.
Yeah.
I think going a step further with that is like finding those things that you love. First off, the photo is going to be way better because you know it inside and out. So you know what to look for. You know the composition to get. You know what's going to be cool, what's going to be unique. But taking a step further, something that I did when I first learned photography, not even video at all at this time, I would go out and shoot, and I would just give myself an absolute hard restriction. And for example, only taking photos of things that are above you. You can't take any photos of anything eye level or down below you, or taking your tripod along, putting your camera just at the height of your knee, and only taking photos from that angle. Going out, taking photos of things that are only red, things that are only yellow. So,
or for example, like just picking a spot and staying in that one spot without moving for like 10 minutes and see what you can capture with one lens. That's another good
totally.
one. Yeah.
That's a good one too. Like sometimes you'll be at a spot and think, that's a good one too. I like the combo of those, like using angles and sticking to a spot, and you'll think like, oh, there's no photo here. And then I do that too, Sam, actually, where I'm like, no. Like I can't leave unless I get a photo. And by a photo, I mean like something I'm proud of, you know?
Yeah.
And then you end up like Lucas is saying, shooting high, shooting low, like finding, and then eventually you find something you're like, oh, that's how I would have done this spot now. And then you move away.
Yeah. So Sam, you had a photography course. You taught a bunch of people photography. What is something that you thought was probably where you saw like the most growth in the people? Like what's a challenge that you gave them that you thought was the most helpful?
Yeah, honestly, so it was a 5-week course that we have a Zoom call once a week, and then at the end of the call, I would give them an assignment. And I think that's actually the most valuable thing I could give them every week, is an assignment to come back to, because it would force them to go out and actually shoot. And it comes back to my first point, is to practice all the time, even if it's 10 minutes a day, and you got to go out and shoot with intention. That's another one I was telling them. But yeah, it's just honestly, it sounds really simple, but if you shoot every day for a little bit and just get familiar with your environment and your camera and your gear, I think that's what's going to get you growing the most and the fastest at the start of, whether you're doing video or photo. So yeah, that was sort of my emphasis in this beginner's course I did at the start of the year.
I wonder if we should also throw in a good one that Sam, you mentioned, we were talking about the other day, is shooting at the start and at like sunrise and sunset too. Like it's so easy when you're not used to the photographer's schedule. You're just like, I'll just like shoot during the day because it's convenient or whatever. But really, if you want your photos to look good and get better, you should be shooting like
sunrise and sunset.
Yeah, after dinner or whatever,
I think that's sort of probably the next step in sort of your learning is I just said it earlier, is knowing your environment. So once you get a bit more familiar with the camera and your settings and all that, then go and, shoot it in the morning, or shoot that's another thing we think we covered in the courses. I think one of the assignments I give them is take some photos during blue hour, take some photos during golden hour, and see what the difference is, right, in the hue, in the tones, in the photos. So yeah, definitely once you sort of got a bit of more of a grip of your camera, yes, check your environment, go and shoot in the forest, go and shoot at the beach. And then, that's also how you'll discover a style for yourself and see what you're passionate about shooting. But yeah, I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we're kind of coming up on our time here a little bit, so I'm gonna slowly start wrapping this up.
As always.
Yeah. So I say that
2
now,
hours
but
later.
yeah, no, it's gonna be so long before it's wrapped up. But yeah, so basically, kind of like to recap, this episode was I don't know, hopefully insightful. What do you think, Sean? Did you think you learned something, or do you have more questions?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's really awesome to have the ability to learn from people like yourselves that are going through the process and trying to figure out how to keep growing and get bigger and bigger projects and bigger clients. And then it's nice to be able to shed light, because, down the road, sometimes you forget how you did things. So being able to learn from you while you're going through these steps is super valuable. So I think it's great.
And we're not walking through, we're absolutely stumbling. Holy there.
You are. Well, okay.
I just wanted to bring full circle with a couple points I said. Is I started off the podcast talking about confidence, and I also spoke a lot about knowing your gear, and those two are so linked. I remember when I still was not as confident with my gear, and I would have a shoot, I was just didn't feel confident. I feel like I was fumbling and stumbling. That's why it's so important to know your gear. You'll be way more confident on shoots, which in that case, it'll lead to that first question Sean asked about how do you ask money for your clients? Well, you'll feel more confident. You'll know your gear. You can ask money from your clients.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Oh, sweet. All right, Sam. Way to dig that in there. I think we're gonna wrap this up. But to introduce also another little thing that I wanted to start doing on the podcast, which is actually a perfect episode to announce this, is I actually want to start what I'm gonna call the Breaktime Challenge. So every week, we're actually going to announce a challenge that we're going to give you, either photo or video. And if you use the hashtag Breaktime so we can see it, we're going to choose our favorite one from the whole thing, and we're actually going to share it to our pages. And this week, I actually want everybody to take photos from your knee height. So take your phone, take your camera, take whatever you can snap photos of. Try to get the perfect composition only from the height of your knee. I know. You started with
For me, that's really low, dude. That's not fair.
That's at my foot.
Exactly.
Anyways, this has been the Breaktime Podcast, where creators talk business and life. I'm your co-host, Lucas. I'm here with Vicky.
Hey, guys.
And Sean.
Hey.
And Sam.
Hey guys.
All right. Anyways, we will see you guys next week.
Time.
Bye.
Check it out.